Hi friends, today we are going to learn about what are HTML helpers in MVC. HTML helpers in ASP.NET MVC are special methods that generates HTML content in your views. They simplify the process of rendering common HTML elements such as text boxes, buttons, drop-downs, lists, and links without writing a raw HTML. HTML helpers are set of methods provided by the framework to generate a standard HTML controls in a concise way, and they help in improving readability and maintainability of your code. Why use HTML helpers? Reduce boilerplate code. They reduce the need to manually write long HTML tags and attributes, making code shorter and easier to manage. Consistency. Using helpers ensures consistency across your views since they generate standard HTML tags with the correct structure and attributes. Built-in features. Many HTML helpers have additional features such as validation, integration, which makes it easier to build forms with client-side validation and server-side validation. Types of HTML helpers in MVC. The standard HTML helpers. These helpers are used to generate common HTML elements like input, select, text area, etc. So common standard HTML helpers. Text box generates a text input element. Password generates a password input element. Drop down list generates a drop down list select element. Checkbox generates a checkbox. Radio button generates a radio button. LabelFor generates a label element for the associated model property. See, look at these are the example at HTML dot text box. This is going to be generated text box. At HTML dot password. This is going to be password. Dot HTML checkbox. This is going to be create a checkbox. Dot HTML drop down list country. So this is taking going to be list of new select list item. First with the text USA, text Canada, and value 1 and value 2. Strongly typed HTML helpers. These helpers are specifically used when you are working with model data in your views. They generate HTML elements that are bound to model properties, and they provide an easy way to render data bound input fields. Common strongly typed HTML helpers. TextBoxFor generate a text input element for model property. PasswordFor generates a password input element for model property. DropDownListFor generates a drop-down list for model property. CheckboxFor generates a checkbox for model property. RadioButtonFor generates a radio button for model property. LabelFor generates a label element for model property. EditorFor generates an appropriate HTML editor for a model property based on its type. Example, input text area. Now we'll see at model your namespace dot model dot user. This is going to be written from the controller to here only. So at HTML dot text box for m dot m lambda m username. This username, password, is admin, or this select item list, all these three are will come from this user only. See, HTML dot password for we are going to receive m dot password. HTML dot checkbox for is admin. HTML drop down list, this is we are going to giving as a hard coding. This is also coming from user. M dot country list or select list item, which is a select list item text USA, text Canada. Two select options we are giving. HTML helpers for validation. These helpers are used to generate validation controls that are tied to model properties. They are integrated with the data annotations applied to model properties. Common validation HTML helpers. Validation message for, this is the validation and validation summary. So validation message for, display the validation message for specific model property. Validation summary displays all validation messages for the entire model. Example, at HTML validation message for m.username. So this m.username returning from the controller to view and that view from here. HTML dot validation message for m.password. HTML dot validation summary true, display all validation errors. So this is the validation summary we are using here. Custom HTML helpers. You can also create your own custom helpers to generate specific HTML markup for custom scenarios. Example of custom helper. See, here we have a method called public static class HTML helper extension, and we have a one method which is public static MVC HTML string. It's a custom button, and this is taking this HTML helper and string button text. So in the tag, new tag builder, we are going to create a button and tag dot set inner text. It's going to be button text. This is coming from button text, and tag dot merge attribute. It's going to be type and button, and return MVC HTML string create tag dot toString. Okay, this is the custom HTML helper. We are going to in the view use the custom helper HTML dot custom button. This is the method we are using. Click me. Advantages of using HTML helpers. Cleaner views. HTML helpers simplify views by reducing repetitive code. Instead of manually writing complex HTML, you can use helpers to generate the correct markup. Consistency. They help maintain consistent HTML markup across views, especially for forms and input elements. Automatic binding. When using strongly typed helpers, the data binding process is seamless, ensuring that the correct value is rendered and sent back to the controller. Validation integration. HTML helpers can automatically integrate with model validation, ensuring that the validation messages are displayed in the view when needed. Common HTML helper methods. At HTML.textbox, generate a text input element. At HTML.password, generates a password input element. At HTML.textArea, generates a text area element. At HTML.checkbox, generate a checkbox input element. At HTML.radio button, generates a radio button input element. At HTML.dropdownList, generates a dropdown list select menu. At HTML.label, generates a label element for specific model property. At HTML editor for generates a appropriate HTML editor for model property. HTML.validation message displays a validation message for specific model property. Example of using HTML helpers for form. Here is an example that uses HTML helpers to create a simple form. So already you know this at using HTML.begin form, and there is a closing bracket, curly bracket is there. In the div at HTML.labelFor, this is for model helpers, model HTML helpers. This is the return type from the control action m.username, m.textbox, and validation message m.username. So for these, all these are for m.username, and this is for m.labelFor, m.passwordFor, m.validation message for. This is for password. See, when in any HTML helper the ends with for, for, it is a model HTML helper. And at HTML checkbox for, m dot is admin. Input type is submit. This is the example. So friends, this is all about HTML helpers in ASP.NET MVC. Please share, subscribe and this channel. Thank you very much.